Now, once you've worked out how many people you're allowed to marry and where they come from, you're going to have to work out where you're going to live afterwards. Anthropologists call this the question of residence, and every society has some sort of rules about it. One option is patrilocal residence. That is, newly married couples move in with the husband's family. Another is matrilocal residence. They move in with the wife's family. And again, you can remember these terms by their component parts. Patri refers to the father, like in the word patriarch. Matri refers to the mother, as in maternal or matrilineal, as we were talking about last time. And local, of course, refers to a place. So patrilocal is with the man's family, matrilocal is with the woman's family. Now, both matrilocality and patrilocality have some real advantages. The new family isn't starting out by itself, right? You're moving in with family, so you have the help and the support of your relatives. You're part of a big extended family right from the very beginning of the marriage, and you're never short of help, never short of company, and if necessary, never short of financial support. Once you start having children, moreover, you've also got built-in babysitters, which, trust me, is no small consideration. My wife and I had our first child in Berkeley, California, which was about 3,000 miles away from our families on the East Coast. She was a wonderful baby, but she never, ever, ever slept. And 3,000 miles was a little far for Grandma to come out and babysit while we took a nap. I think we probably aged about 10 years in her first 6 weeks. On the other hand, so that it's great that you have people around you. On the other hand, matrilocal and patrilocal systems do have a big drawback, is that they tend to favor one side of the family or the other. If you move in with the wife's family, then that family is going to be your primary social group. You'll see them all the time. You'll see them every day in a way that you won't for the husband's family. As the children grow up, they'll be surrounded by that family, and they're going to think of them as their primary social group. The other side of the family is going to be secondary. Now, in most cases, that's okay because the rules of residence tend to follow the rules of descent. Matrilocal cultures are usually matrilineal, and patrilocal cultures are usually patrilineal. That means that you're growing up and becoming part of the side of the family that's going to be most important to you anyway. Now, in some cases, though, this does represent a problem, and people take a different approach, one that doesn't favor one side or the other. On the island of Dobu in Melanesia, for example, they historically had something we called ambilocal residence. Ambi meaning both, like ambidextrous, in which the couple lives for 1 year with the wife's family, and then the next year with the husband's family. Right? That way they each get a chance to be with the family. That's not actually because they're trying to be nice to each other, it was because families historically on Dobu didn't trust each other. There was a great deal of suspicion and rivalry among the families, and no one was willing to let the other side keep anyone from their own society or for their own family permanently. Now, another approach to dealing with this is the one we take, neolocal residence, where the couple is supposed to start a new household. Neo refers to something new. In our culture, people don't usually get married unless they're old enough and have a good enough job to move out on their own and start their own household. Now, this does have the advantage of making sure that newlyweds are at a safe distance from their in-laws, which can cut down on violence. On the other hand, it's got a lot of problems as well. It's very expensive, for one thing. We have to have a separate house for every nuclear family, which is much less efficient than housing people in large extended homes, right? It's not just building the house, it's heating the house, or cooling the house, and maintaining the house, and so on. It's also a lot more work, with everyone having to maintain and clean their own homes, and cook their own separate meals, and care for their own children all by themselves, right? We work a lot harder than most cultures for that reason. And of course, it's very lonely. You don't live with your family, so you don't see them. And in many cases, you don't see much of anyone else either. Our society has serious problems with depression, especially for mothers of small children, who often find themselves alone all day, taking care of kids with no one really to talk to. Right? At the same time, we have serious problems of depression among older adults, who often find themselves alone in houses or retirement homes after their children grow up and move away to start homes of their own. And if, as sometimes happens, we have problems of abuse, right? Spousal abuse, child abuse, elder abuse, there's often no other adult in the house to look to for help or for protection, because, of course, nuclear families live alone. There are some really nice things about neolocal residence. It's what we're used to and what we like, but we pay a very, very, very high price for it. Now, one other form of residence that we should mention is called avunculocal residence. Now, this comes from the Latin word avunculus, or uncle, and it means moving in not with the parents of the bride, but with her uncle. Why her uncle, right? It sounds a little weird. Well, there's a reason for it. Suppose you live in a matrilineal society in which men have a lot more authority than women. Right? This is entirely possible, by the way. Sometimes people think that matrilineal descent is somehow associated with matriarchy, in which women hold more power than men, while patrilineal descent is associated with patriarchy, but that's really not the case. The way you name people doesn't necessarily mean a lot for power relationships between the genders. And there are certainly plenty of matrilineal societies in which men hold most of the political power. Well, in a society like that, suppose a newlywed couple wanted to move into the household of the most important person in the matrilineage. Is that the bride's mother? No, because authority is held mainly by men. Is it the bride's father? No, because he belongs to a different lineage. It's the bride's mother's brother, right? And that is whom you'd want to move in with. And that's usually the reason for avunculocal residence. It's really not so much about moving in with the uncle, but moving in with the core part of the bride's kinship group in order to associate the family with.